everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this in sunset Escazú, Costa Rica, where it's been cloudy, and now the sunset is breaking through. It's very beautiful, and it is Sunday, the 20th of October in the year 2024. And the big news of the week is that we are changing from Libra season to Scorpio season, and that's going to happen Tuesday the 22nd, where the sun enters Scorpio at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I have to just reflect back on the last week for a moment and say that I felt a very big difference when Venus left Scorpio on Thursday and went into Sagittarius, and also when the full moon happened. And the full moon released the eclipse period. So this was a big release on Thursday, and I definitely felt that there were still some heavy things that were going on in the world, of course, but for my own self and my own life and for general energies shifting, I felt that big shift, and I felt things really process and move on past the eclipse period. It was rough. I think the second eclipse was very intense, and I think the weeks after that, up until this full moon, were very heavy, and they were somewhat burdensome, and there were a lot of things to finish and complete. And I finally got through some projects and things that we were all doing, and that finally settled down once the full moon came and we got Venus out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius. Venus does not love to be in Scorpio. She likes to be in Libra. But Sagittarius is better for her because she gets to be a little more freedom-oriented and fun-loving and travel and adventure-oriented. So she loves that. And so now we move into Scorpio season, where the sun is going into Scorpio, and it is a really Plutonian kind of time. And one of the things that we know is happening is that Pluto is getting ready to leave Capricorn, which I've said ad infinitum, and I keep talking about this, and it is a very important thing. We are now at the last month of Pluto in Capricorn, the last 30 days, because yesterday was the 19th, today's the 20th, and it leaves Capricorn on November 19th. So I had a little thing on my Instagram, one of those little countdowns on one of my stories about, hey, Pluto is getting ready to leave Capricorn, and asking people how they're feeling. What are they releasing? What do they remember from 2008? How do we let go of all of this? How do we, say goodbye to these things? And the all associated events that went along with Pluto and Capricorn. And so this is really something profound. And as the sun enters Pluto's sign and the sun remains in Pluto's sign till Pluto changes signs, I think this is a particularly potent Scorpio season. And this is something that we want to pay a lot of attention to, because we are really releasing and saying goodbye to these last 16 years, whatever they brought us. And we're saying hello to something new and I think more vibrant. Right before the sun leaves Libra, of course, it reaches the end of Libra before it goes into Scorpio on Tuesday, and it's going to square Pluto. So it's going to have its last square to Pluto while Pluto's in Capricorn. Pluto's at 29 degrees Capricorn. Of course it is, because that's the last degree of a sign, is 29 degrees. And Pluto right now is at 29:39. That's 39 minutes of Capricorn. So it's really at a point where anything leaving the cardinal signs, Libra, Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, is going to touch Pluto on their way out. So this is the sun saying, okay, I'm in Libra, I'm getting ready to leave Libra, shaking hands with Pluto. It's been real the last 16 years, making contact to you from cardinal signs, all the cardinal energy. That's the energy of initiation. Those are the people who start things up. And we are saying goodbye and so long to this cardinal energy. Now the cardinal signs are going to feel really relieved as we move out of Pluto in Capricorn for good. What I've noticed what I've noticed, and we have this square coming on Tuesday. So Tuesday's kind of a loaded day, and it's sort of the biggest day of the week. We have the sun square Pluto, Pluto getting ready to change signs, the sun moving into Pluto's sign, Scorpio. This is all very profound. And it is transformation oriented. It is depth oriented. It is intense. It's passionate. Sun in Scorpio is passionate. We look at our passions. We look at the deeper corners of our life. We get ready to do some maybe more deeper reflection about our emotions and our feelings in our life. And what I've noticed is that there's been this process, obviously, of Pluto moving into Aquarius in March of last year, 2023, stepping out again in June of 2023, back into Capricorn, stepping back into Aquarius in January of this year, January 20th of this year, and then stepping out again on September 1st, and then going direct on the 11th of October last week, and now stepping forward to get out of Capricorn. But it's been a process, okay? That is a process. It's like steps in, steps out, steps in, steps out. Do I like it here? Do I not like it here? Do I want to be here? What does it feel like to be here? I'm in a new world. It's a new paradigm. This is it. It's sort of helped us get used to this feeling of Pluto leaving Capricorn and going into Aquarius. And this is it, guys. If you haven't gotten used to it yet, you better buckle up, because this is the real deal. It's leaving in a month. And I find it interesting because projects, things on our plates, things that have the energies, the energetics of Pluto and Aquarius, things that are more Aquarian in nature, like futuristic, like AI, like technology oriented, anything independent and revolutionary, things like that Pluto is going to be dealing with for the next 20 years. I found that energy is not settling in till now. So there may have been starters to these projects, starters to these energies, beginnings of seeing what it's really like. But you know what my teacher used to say? He would say, well, the planet thinks it's in the next sign. It's really not. So he would say, Jupiter thinks it's in Gemini, but it's really still in Taurus, or something like that, So Pluto thinks it's been in Aquarius, but it's really been still in Capricorn. The flavor, it's a nice adjustment period, to have a year and a half of Pluto doing this. It's maybe a little nerve-wracking, but it's giving us the taste ahead of time. And it's been a particularly elongated, prolonged taste of Pluto stepping into Aquarius and then back out, and then stepping back in and stepping back out. And it's like, do you make up your mind? But it's a gradual process of allowing us to get used to this and to sort of assimilate this energy. But the real stuff that is going to happen when Pluto is really in Aquarius hasn't really happened yet. It's a taster. And so I have to agree with my former educator, Michael Luton, here. When I think of this, and I think Pluto really hasn't been in Aquarius, it's been in Capricorn. Yes, we've had moments of it, but if you have a very Pluto and Aquarius project, as I do, that Pluto and Aquarius energy really is going to start to kick in soon. Once Pluto gets in, I already feel it now. So I feel different now than I did, say, March of last year and earlier this year. Yes, the flavors were there. Yes, the energies were, it did go into Aquarius. We're not lying. The ephemeris doesn't lie. And I had the emotions of it, as you may recall, when I talked about how I kept getting up at 4 a.m. with the birds chirping and like, oh no, I'm awake again. There is definitely the sense of transition, but the universe has been kind to us and helped us really adapt to that by this 3 times into Aquarius. But projects, things in the 3D, things that have the go-ahead to make themselves happen, that's what's coming now. And things that have been stirring in the 5D, because everything is in the 5D in the quantum field before it becomes 3D in matter, okay? And we don't change things matter to matter. We change things in the field first, and then as a result of changing things in the field, that's how things in matter change, right? So you have to change things in the 5D. You don't change, if you're changing matter to matter, it's going to go a whole lot slower than if you're changing in the 5D. This is where manifestation comes in. So visualization, meditation, all those good things that we talk about. So, we were getting prepared, and I would say maybe Pluto and Aquarius was giving us a dose of the 5D changes. We felt them. We weren't really producing something, Pluto and Aquarius, that was going to move forward in a very strong Plutonian way, as it shall later this year in a month, right? But I feel that those things are happening now. People are getting revved up. People are seeing this. Things are changing. Things are shifting. Technology is becoming different. I see things, AI all the time now. And of course, my new vision system is AI. And we've been working with that since 2009. So this is, there you go. There's that, 15, 16 years ago. So now we're making strides forward with new vision. And it is a dramatic shift. So we are now going into Scorpio season. And we are feeling the intensity, the passion, and the death. Because death anxiety and loss and endings is part of this time of year, generally speaking. But the fact that the ruler of this time of year is doing its own ending, this is going to be a profound season, okay? Pluto will enter Aquarius prior to Scorpio season ending. So Sagittarius season won't happen for another several days until, after Pluto enters Aquarius. So this is going to be brand new energy. And it's never been Pluto in Aquarius and Sagittarius season before. So this is all new. And this is the last Scorpio season and the last Libra season that we have Pluto in Capricorn. And, I believe that we're going to move forward in a very brand new way. And it will have some flavors of what last year was like for those months and earlier this year. But this is true. This is the truth now. This is Pluto going into Aquarius. And I've talked about this ad infinitum, but it is the thing that is happening right now, the thing. And so there's a lot of Scorpio energy happening right now. So there's, this Sun-Pluto thing that's happening on Tuesday is always transformational. Sun squares Pluto twice a year. Otherwise, it conjuncts Pluto and it opposes Pluto. So when it's been conjunct Pluto, it's been in Capricorn. Sun conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. That's earlier in January, which kind of happened earlier in January. Like it happened in January, and then Pluto immediately went into Aquarius and the Sun immediately went into Aquarius. So they were kind of moving through the sign together, to two signs together. So that's very deep. That was the last time in our lifetime that Pluto and the Sun will conjunct in Capricorn. Of course, they'll conjunct in Aquarius. But this is really the end of an era. It's the end of an era. What's Capricorn about? Capricorn is about the patriarchy, the rulerships in our lives, the governments, the ruling voice, the authority figures, the banking systems. And we've had enough of a taste of that in these last 16 years. Aquarius is about, technology, revolution, innovation, independence, liberation. Those things that always make an Aquarius light up. Liberation, freedom, revolution. Yeah, we have to revolt to get our freedom. That kind of energy. And Pluto is always about transformation. It's about the end of something. So it's especially appropriate that Pluto's finale in Capricorn happens during Scorpio season. And the Sun, in its vitality, will square Pluto on Tuesday, and it brings with it a certain level of, moving through a transformative energy. Now, if you feel like your boat's being rocked in these next days, well, that's what it is. We're moving into a different time. We're moving into Scorpio season, which is always a little more uncomfortable than Libra season. Libra's all sunny. We want to balance things. We want serenity. We want peace. That's our motivation. That's where our vitality, that's where our sun energy is focused. Now it's, Libra's pretty light. ruled by Venus, and now we're moving into Scorpio season where things are darker. This is when we celebrate the days of the dead, November 1st, October 31st, Halloween. That day, November 1st, of the ancestors is big in Latin culture, so they do celebrate that here. And this is certainly a wonderful time of year to celebrate your ancestors and to connect with your ancestral lineage. Do ancestral clearings. We do ancestral clearings. I do ancestral clearings. Do ancestral clearings. Clear up the burdens of the past and thank your ancestors and have gratitude towards your ancestors for, allowing you to come to this earth, because it's because of them that you're here, So this is a very profound time of year. And then the other energies that are happening right now are, Mercury is in Scorpio, and it is moving through a trine with Saturn right now that is in Pisces. And so it's getting close to Saturn, trining Saturn, which it will do 2:35 a.m. Tuesday morning Eastern time. So that's 12:30 in the morning for me and my time. But Mercury trine Saturn is very good. It's very stable. Our thoughts are stable. We're organized. We're focused, even though it's in water sign. And Mercury in Scorpio is a little sarcastic and a little analytical, but Mercury in Scorpio could shoot out those witty remarks very easily. But trining Saturn, which is in the very empathic sign of Pisces, will probably tone it down a little bit. And Scorpio energy will be more responsible with its words. The Mercury in Scorpio energy, very responsible with its words. So that's something to keep in mind for the next few days. And Mars is in the sign of Cancer. And this week, Mars is going to talk sweetly to the planet Uranus, which is on Thursday, the 24th, at 8:13 p.m. Eastern Time. Mars in Cancer will sextile Uranus in Taurus, a very smooth flowing aspect. And that gives us, good, bright ideas, good, innovative tactics. Mars doesn't love Cancer, and actually Uranus doesn't love Taurus, but they are working together, and they are not at their best, either of them, because, they both like to be in Scorpio. Uranus likes to be in Scorpio because that's where it's exalted, and it's in its opposite sign of Taurus. And Mars likes to be in Scorpio, or it likes to be exalted in Capricorn, which is the opposite of Cancer, which is where it is. Now, this is one of those things that we have to pay attention to, because our friend Mars is going to be doing this little dance. And that dance gets closer and closer as we move through these last months of the year. I can't believe I'm saying that. Yes, I always talk about how time flies, right? I was out with my friends the other night, my friends here, and my one friend, Alejandro, says, "What do you think? Do you think the year went fast, or do you think the year was slow?" And I said, "I think it went so fast that I can't even comprehend it. I can't comprehend it." And my neighbor Ullman and I were talking about this too. He's like, "Where did this year go?" And he's gone away quite a bit. And I said, "It seems like yesterday that you went to Europe," and that was back in April. It was just too weird. But Alejandro said to me the other night, it's been slow for me, and I loved it. And I would love that feeling. I would love that feeling. I wish I could. I'm going to focus on manifesting that feeling. That time is just moving very nicely, and it's not overly fast, and it's just sort of moving in a calm manner, in a flowy manner. But back to Mars. Mars is going to be moving through the end of Cancer, and it's at about 24 degrees Cancer right now. And with Pluto at 29 of Capricorn, we would call that an opposition. Now, it's a wide opposition. It's moving into opposition. But the first opposition it will make to Pluto in Capricorn is the 2nd of November. And so Mars will continue to move through Cancer, and it's going to go into Leo in November. and then get very, very slow and turn around on December 6th at 6 degrees of Leo. And then it's going to come back into Cancer again. And so this is a very dynamic aspect. So this is going to be the first of 3 oppositions of Mars and Pluto. Now, Mars and Uranus are fine. They're going to be good on Thursday, right? They're fine. But this whole dynamic of Mars now moving into this opposition with Pluto very slowly, this is a very tedious and intense opposition. And it is something that will have a story for us. But I bring it up when I talk about Uranus because Mars is going to be making these dynamics for a while, and it's definitely going to come back and talk to Uranus again. So this is the first time Mars and Uranus are going to make this nice little sextile, and then there'll be a second and a third time, because on the way back through, Cancer, it's going to do that sextile, and then it's going to turn around again to go forward next year in February, but it will be further back. And that means that it's going to touch Uranus now, it's going to touch Uranus again next year, and it's going to touch Uranus again on the way out when it's going forward. So whatever Mars is doing now, it's already in its shadow. It's the pre-retrograde shadow. And whatever Mars is doing now, it's going to be repeating it several times. So this is okay. We have to just watch the stories that evolve now. And so this is Mars rules Scorpio, Pluto rules Scorpio. We know what Pluto's doing. Let's talk about Mars, because now, as of Tuesday, we're going to be going into Mars's season. And he shares that with Pluto, but it is dramatic right now because Mars is in Cancer, and he doesn't love being in Cancer, as I mentioned, but he's going to get really slow in November, and he's going to start this dialogue with all these other planets, and probably the most intense one is with Pluto, because this is the last time, that November 2nd, and when we get to that, which isn't going to be for another little while yet, another couple weeks, when we get to that aspect, this is going to be the final time that Mars in Cancer opposes Pluto in Capricorn. These are very powerful dynamics that are ending. And Mars and Pluto have had this dynamic from Cancer to Capricorn for the last 16 years. It's opposed it a bunch of times. And then there's been cardinal sign dynamics between Mars and Pluto. So, and what I mean by that is, anytime Mars went into Aries, anytime Mars went into Libra, anytime Mars went into Cancer as it is now, or Capricorn, it had a dynamic with Pluto and Capricorn, which is ending. And so even though Mars is going to do this dance, once Pluto's out of Capricorn, the dance with Pluto is going to be in Aquarius, from Leo to Aquarius. That's a different dynamic. Right now, Mars is in the sign of family, of security, of all sorts of home-related things, our roots, what is comfort to us, what is satisfaction to us. It's in the sign ruled by the moon. It's in our homey, cozy nest sign, okay? It's in that sharing of family values sign, okay? That's not going to be the case. Once it opposes Pluto, and Pluto and Mars are always very dynamic and a bit of a shakeup, then it goes into Leo, which is creative, dynamic, fiery, feisty. It's very dramatic, and it's a whole other dynamic than Mars in Cancer. Mars likes to be in Leo. Mars is a fire planet. It's in a fire sign. It likes that. It's juicy for Mars. So yeah, we're going to get a little spicy with Mars and Leo a long time. So this is very interesting. And this is something I both look forward to it and then not look forward to it. I don't want to say I dread it. I don't love a Mars retrograde, I'll be honest. I'm a Marsy person. I'm a Sun Mars person. So it feels like everything just kind of stops, like you're trying to drive and you can't. And you are trying to move forward with things and you cannot. Now, I'm talking about this way in advance because I want you, my dear listeners, my dear astro darlings, to start preparing for this. Because once Mars makes that retrograde, we're not launching anything new. We're not initiating new things. Do it now. Do it now. Now that eclipse period has kicked out, now that we're moving, yeah, I know Pluto is in Capricorn, it's yesteryear. This is yesteryear. But we want to initiate things while Mars is still allowing us to initiate. Usually when we initiate after Mars goes retrograde, and that'll be from December 6th until the end of February. That's a long time. And then a few days later, Venus goes retrograde. So that's for next year's discussion and a discussion about next year that I am planning on giving, to my audience. But we need to pay attention to the initiation of projects right now, because this is the time to do it. We don't have a lot of time. Mercury's going to go retrograde at the end of November. We don't like to initiate things then either. So we've got a good solid month of initiating things, launching your website, launching your new ideas, launching your projects, all of that while we are figuring out what we're going to be working on when Mars goes retrograde, which is times for integration and self-reflection and not getting into a kerfuffle with anyone. See, when Mars goes retrograde, it does not encourage war. Mars is the warrior planet. This does not encourage war. We don't want war. We don't want to run into a war. We don't want to start a war. We want to remain neutral, okay? And it gets us hot under the collar and frustrated when Mars is in a fire sign. And it's really going to take all of December in that fire sign, and then it'll pop back into Cancer again in January. But we need to do things. We need to do them now. And I'm not talking about things like, we wanted to, repair the roof. Yeah, you can do that anytime. Sure. This is not, I'm going to sue my condo board. Okay, that's something you do now. You don't want to start that in December. You don't want to start that in January or February. You can't do that. That doesn't work. Anything where you need to initiate, and initiating war, and I've said this many times on my podcast, and I've said this in my lectures about Mars, anytime you're going to initiate something that could be trouble, that is, oh no, I'm going to report them. Oh no, I'm going to report them and I'm going to rat them out and I've got to sue them, and any sort of legal action. And Jupiter's the legal planet, Saturn too. But it's the initiation of it that is complicated. It's that initiation of, okay, I have to, I've said this before. I've told you this story before where we had a friend in New York, and he's like, I'm going to sue my condo board. And just as I said, I'm using that as an example because that was the one that stuck out in my mind. And we said, you can't do that now. And he said, I have to. No, you don't. You have to wait 2 months. He's like, no, I really got to do this. You won't win. The initiation of a war, you don't do that under a Mars retrograde. You won't win. You think you're going to win. You think this is war. I need to initiate this. I'm going to start this process. Blah, blah, blah. No, you're not going to win. And if someone attacks you, and this is the good part, if someone attacks you and you've done nothing to provoke this and you're just minding your business and they're pissed off at you for some reason, let them do it. Let them try. Don't get your feathers ruffled. It might be a pain in the neck. It might be some sort of discomfort for a little while, but they're not going to win. So they have to do it when it's not retrograde. So if they wait and they attack you during the retrograde, this is the one time that you can be sure they're not going to win. And I've seen this time and again in the world and in people's personal lives. Do not start a war during a Mars retrograde. You will not win. This is a very powerful statement. You have to understand this. So, and You don't want to launch your brand new website. I always use that as an example too, right? You don't want to launch your brand new website under Mars retrograde. You don't want to buy a new car under Mars retrograde. You don't want to buy a new computer under Mars retrograde unless you absolutely have to. If you have no choice whatsoever, then you got to do what you got to do. But there are things when you have a choice, like computers and cars break, and we want to send our vehicles and our computers and our technology good vibes. But there's going to be a section of time where Mars and Mercury are retrograde together, or like that's going to be early December, and there's going to be this overlap of the two of them. Yeah, you don't want to buy a new phone then, right? Any technology, you want to wait until Mars is direct. Then you know what you do. You wait till Mars is direct, and then Venus goes retrograde, and it's a sale. You get things on deep discount when Venus goes retrograde, and she's going retrograde in Aries, a sign she's not in love with, but it's Mars's sign. So at least Mars will be direct. So this is going to be, we've got a very interesting few months ahead. I'm very curious about this. I am very curious about what this will bring, especially with Mars opposing Pluto 3 times and changing signs, both of them changing signs in that process. This now is the time to launch things, move forward, step ahead. It's not time to do it when Mars is retrograde. So if I haven't said that enough, I'm saying it again. Please listen. And I tell you as a voice who has experienced this time and again. And this is not something I would mess with because, I have pushed the limits. I have tried things and I have seen too many times it's failed. So you don't want to do these things when Mars is retrograde. They don't work. And we're going to start a new business. I'm going to start a new brand. We're going to do da-da. You don't launch under Mars retrograde. So, you could probably launch a class that you're going to do during Mars retrograde. If you're an astrologer and you're going to talk about Mars retrograde, well, then that's fine. But to launch a whole new career, this is a finishing up of stuff, okay? To launch something new is not really exactly what you want to be doing. This is a finishing up. This is, once Pluto moves in, and Pluto and Mars are buddies, once Pluto moves into Aquarius, we're going to be really making some assimilations in our life, in our energy, in our consciousness. And I think Mars is part of that. It's taking us a step back. We need to take a step back. It's asking us to take a step back. So this is very, very important. And I'm telling you now, and we're going to talk about this more in these next weeks, but I'm telling you now because if I just show up and say, oh, by the way, don't start anything new now. And you were like, oh, but I was waiting for this. I was waiting to do this in December. It's like, no, I'm telling you in October. So you get things done now. Okay. So the other planet that's busy this week is our friend Mercury, who is, as I said, trining Saturn, but then also talking with Chiron and talking with Jupiter. And it's going to be Saturday into Sunday where it's making that quincunx in conjunct with Chiron. So be very mindful of your words. Be mindful of your words with this because we want to be healing in our words. And Scorpio can be very healing. It can be transformational. It brings things up to the surface. So we want to watch our words and be kind and not be sharp with people as Saturday and Sunday of next weekend occur, because that's when Mercury is making that needling aspect I talk about, the quincunx, or also known as an inconjunct. And it's also going to be making an inconjunct to Jupiter only hours later after Chiron. So Chiron, is the wounded one, the wounded healer. Jupiter is abundance and openness. And so there's a really nice opportunity here to recognize one's wounds and get healed and be open to something new arising out of that. So that can be very lovely. If you feel you have a bit of an eclipse hangover or a full moon hangover, this is normal. This will shake out over these next days, I think, especially with Mercury trining Saturn. And then especially as we go into Scorpio season, because Scorpio has nothing to do with the eclipses. So I think these things will shake out over these next days. use the Scorpio energy wisely, use it for healing, use it for reflecting, use it for going deep with yourself or deep in a relationship with a loved one. These are good things. These are good uses of Scorpio energy. And another good use of Scorpio energy is to come to see me. If you want to have a session with me, we can go deep into your astrology. We can go deep into Reiki and healing with that. We can go deep in emotional work, deep into emotional work. And we can also do expansion mentoring, and this is a good time to start that. And actually, expansion mentoring is, it goes 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. If you wanted to do that during a Mars retrograde, you can certainly do that during a Mars retrograde, because that's where we're looking back at your life, we're working through things. That's an okay thing to start under a Mars retrograde, mostly because we are going to look at things that are going on in your life. I just wouldn't expect serious results until Mars goes direct and then is out of the shadow. But that gives a person plenty of time to work with me if they choose to. And I am always here on the Golden Astrologer Podcast, Sundays, every week. And I'm on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer. My website is thegoldenastrologer.com. You can click book online there on thegoldenastrologer.com. I write a blog. You can go read it. And we are now at the end of Libra season, and the next time I see you, it will be Scorpio season. So thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to each and every one of you, and I will see you soon.